What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Hands-On channel. As I was scrolling through the news today, I actually noticed that one of my favorite actors actually got into a scuffle today, and he was beating the tar out of this guy on the side of the road, and I'm like, what in the hell's going on? And sadly, after I read more about this guy, he's no longer my favorite actor, okay? I thought he was actually a Christian, conservative-minded person, but I don't know where I got that. I must have saw one of his video clips from the past, but apparently he said some things, real negative things about the police, and how they murder people all the time and get away with it and stuff like this. And he was talking about Breonna Taylor or whatever, and he had a shirt on that said something derogatory about the police regarding that whole event, right? That whole situation, which, if you remember that, it was a few years ago now, but that whole situation was real muddy because they were going after a drug dealer, I guess her boyfriend or something, if I remember right, that was staying in the house, and he was armed, she wasn't, she got caught in the crossfire. I mean, it's a tragic deal. It was sad that anytime someone innocent dies like that, it's of course a tragedy and a really bad deal. But the moral of the story is, don't get involved with people like that, drug dealer boyfriends and stuff, and that probably won't happen to you. But anyway, if you don't know who I'm talking about yet, because I haven't said the name, this guy's name is Alan Ritchson, okay? He was the star of Reacher, and that's where I kind of got to liking his acting style and his whatever, that show. I liked his version of Jack Reacher, and that was pretty good. But anyway, now that I found out he's just another typical, liberal scumbag, pro-LGBTQ and pro-illegal immigration and all this other stuff, or at least that's the way it appears, I'm no longer going to be considering him one of my favorite actors because, part of the reason I liked the guy was I thought he was conservative, and he's just not. But anyway, he beats the tar out of one of his neighbors. And apparently, long story short, it appears he got a new motorcycle, or a newish motorcycle, and he was revving it and driving it fast up and down the street. And one of the old neighbors across the road or whatever didn't like it and came out and started shaking his fist. And the guy even admits, we'll play the video clip here in a second, the guy that Ritchson attacks on the side of the road, he admits that he started it by pushing Ritchson while he was on his motorcycle. So if you don't know, and you're not a biker like me or other people out there in the audience, you don't mess around with motorcycle guys when they're sitting straddled on their motorcycle. You don't push them, okay? Because that can make the bike fall over, and then that's a real big deal. So I don't know if that's what happened or what, but I see the bike is laying in the road. So I'm assuming this guy come out of his rich house. He walks out there and starts shaking his fist and waggling his finger, walks up to Ritchson and shoves him, and he falls off the bike. And then I'm assuming to respond to that, Ritchson takes him to the side of the road and proceeds to whip the shit out of him. Now, if you know this guy, he's huge. He's jacked up. A lot of people say he's on roids and stuff. I don't know. Maybe he is, but he whipped this guy big time. And the guy even admits it. So let's play the video clip here of the initial, not the initial confrontation. This is just what is shown. We don't see the beginning of it, but we see the tail end of it. So let's play this right now. So you can see from that clip, The guy was down, covered up. Now, one thing I will say, Ritchson wasn't like kicking him while he was on the ground, like you see a lot of times in these. How can I say this? Urban areas, very urban areas. They tend to kick the shit out of you once you're on the ground. He didn't do that, but he kept punching the guy when he was covering up. Clearly, the guy had enough. And if you guys pay attention, the motorcycles that are the people that are still on motorcycles back behind Ritchson, I think they're his kids. I think they're his boys. Okay. So put yourself in that situation. You're not a big celebrity or whatever. You're just a regular dude, but to these boys, you're Superman. And here comes some jackass out of nowhere shoving you off your motorcycle. Maybe he did complain about the noise or whatever, but that wasn't the proper way to go about it. He should have, he could have come out and said something and been like, hey, quit speeding down the street. And that should have been it. The dude should have went back in the house and called the police if he had a problem and someone was breaking the law. I mean, it shouldn't be that hard if they were doing it all day. He should be able to get the cops out there to investigate that situation and put a stop to it. But instead, the guy decides to be, Billy Badass and go out there and shove a man on a motorcycle. Well, he proceeded to get his ass whipped. Here's his version of what happened.
It started on Saturday morning and I'm an experienced motorcycle rider. I've been riding bikes all my life. So, from dirt bikes to street bikes and etc. But I'd heard this incestuous revving and speeding through our neighborhood of the motorcycle. I eventually saw the guy on Saturday. I didn't know who it was. And I sort of flippantly said, guy, like he was quite away. And I said, can you just slow it down, please? And then there are numerous people in my neighborhood who caught all of this on Ring doorbells of him speeding through the neighborhood. And on Sunday, when I was cleaning my bike outside my house, he rode past once, twice, and on the second time, I walked out in front of him and I said, you've got to stop. Someone's going to get hurt. And it escalated quite quickly from there. I did push him because he was coming towards me on his bike. He did it again for a second time. I pushed him a second time. And I think the second time he got off his bike and it kicked the crap out of me. And you can see he hit me in the back of my head. I went to the ground and covered myself. I've had such a shitty day today, and I don't wish the guy any malice or ill will, but we just don't need people riding through neighborhoods like this. And I just decided, I'm take a stand because someone else has to, because it's going to end up way worse than it could have.
So I will say this, at least the guy admitted he got his ass whipped, okay? So that's that. Maybe he'll learn a lesson from this and not do that again, because if you FA, you're going to FO, okay? And he FA'd with the wrong guy. This guy's jacked, probably has a, $10 million gym in his house or something. I don't know, but he's clearly one of the most jacked people in all of Hollywood. And you don't want to be messing around with somebody like that. And, just because you're jacked doesn't mean you're, a tough guy necessarily. I've seen lots of jack guys that really couldn't fight in the grand scheme of things. But Ritchson just proved that he can hold his own during a scuffle. And I'm going to argue that as time comes, as things unfold, I bet we find out later that was the whole cause of the fight, was this old boy shoved him and he fell off his motorcycle. And as soon as that happened, the fight's on. It's inevitable. So, again, I like to learn lessons from this kind of stuff. The moral of this story is don't go up and shove a man on his motorcycle. It's probably not a good idea, especially someone that's all jacked up and possibly roided out like this dude, okay? So it's a shame that I had to look into this story and find out that this guy is just like every other Hollywood actor and musician and whatever. They're all freaking commie liberals. But anyway, speaking of just celebrities losing their shit, right? Although, you could argue he was fairly composed considering what happened. But still, he knows that because of his status, and he's in some new, I watched War Machine. I watched one series. What was that? It was a movie. It wasn't a show. I watched the first movie, War Machine, and they've got it obviously set up to make a bunch of sequels. It was a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. But anyway, that being said, he's one of Netflix's top stars right now. So this old boy across the road may sue his ass. I would look for that in the coming future, because when you have money, other people want to take that away from you. It's just some kind of a unwritten code here about being a human. But But yeah, speaking of just people kind of losing their shit. So again, another person that I'm not a big fan of. I mean, I've liked some of their movies that they've been in, but Shia LaBeouf, or Shia LaBeouf, however you say that person's name, right? He was famous. Probably his most famous movie was Transformers. Well, he's been making the rounds. Okay. I saw clips from his podcast that he did with this, I don't know, Channel 5 guy. I've never even heard of this guy, but suddenly that was all over YouTube for about a week there. And when I was listening to parts of the interview, it strikes me that he's actually having some sort of a psychotic break. Okay. It's probably triggered by substance abuse and alcoholism, but he's clearly teetering. Okay. And he's on the verge of a meltdown any second. There were a couple of questions that Channel 5 guy did that you could tell pissed Shia LaBeouf off, and the way he responded, he got aggressive. Well, let me play you this video clip. I believe this is in Rome. I've been hearing for days now that Shia LaBeouf is over in Rome and he's like raising all kinds of hell. I'm not going to show it to you, but there was one video clip of him walking around in some, high-end 5-star luxury hotel in his freaking underwear, his tighty whities or boxers or whatever, asking everybody. He's like walking around with a cigarette, unlit cigarette in his mouth, asking everybody for a match. He was clearly wasted, out of his mind. Okay. They probably don't even allow smoking in the building at that place. Of course, maybe if you're rich enough, maybe they'll let you do whatever you want, kind of like some of the stuff we're finding out about Epstein Island. But anyway, check this video clip out. Here he is, just freaking out in public. Nobody knows why. No one knows, is this his girlfriend, his wife, his sister? Who the hell knows? But I feel sorry for this girl that he's with. And I'll be honest, before I play this, I'll just say this. I feel a little bit sorry for him because he's one of these child stars. And we all know some of the stuff, the dark, dark roads that some of these people have had to go down to continue to be, favored by the media and to stay relevant. Anyway, here's this clip from Rome. Again, someone needs to have an intervention. His friends need to have an intervention and be like, hey man, you need to get some help, buddy. You're circling the drain. Here we go. So that was Shia LaBeouf. And again, if you look at more and more, that wasn't the worst stuff that I've seen. If you look at more and more of his stuff, you're like, okay, again, this guy is on the verge or in the middle of a psychotic breakdown, a mental break. He needs help. On the other hand, probably a lot of this stuff is because of self-medication and things. So if he'd just get off the sauce, maybe he'd be all right. But the last celebrity here that, you guys have probably seen this for a while. Another child star. Okay. Britney Spears. I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. I grew up, you know, I was a teenager in the 90s. So when I saw Britney Spears back in the 90s, I mean, she was hot. She was smoking hot, okay? One of the most attractive, definitely as far as musicians, female artists, she was certainly one of the most attractive of that timeline, right? She's looking pretty rough these days. And it's weird how you can just see the crazy in her eyes. Oh, you don't believe me? Let me play you this video clip of her dancing with butcher knives. This is an older one, but we'll play some newer ones here in a second. But just refresh your memory on this and imagine, you know, imagine being married to a woman like this. You come home and she's doing something like this and recording it, no less, and showing other people. Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. So yeah, that's pretty wild. And then there was another one where there's no knives, thankfully, but she's still dancing around and she's got the psycho crazy eyes, okay? So I don't know what all's going on with that. We'll probably never know, but clearly something bad happened to her when she was little and she can't get over it. At least that's what I think. I could be wrong. Let me know what you guys think, but she seems like she needs an intervention. She needs someone to help. And apparently her dad used to have stewardship over her whole estate or whatever. He had some sort of legal guardianship over her, even as an adult, probably because she was crazy. She sued and got a lawyer to, you know, sever that relationship, and it's been downhill ever since. So let me play you this other clip. This was just recently. She was at a gas station, and I get it. You don't want to be bombarded by paparazzi all the time, but that's the life you chose. You don't get to go and attack them just because you don't like it. But yeah, watch this.
How are you doing? You doing okay? I'm concerned about you though, okay?
Gotten shots up, please, guys. Don't, guys, please, guys, don't do this. No. Fuck you! Fuck yourself!
That's the rehab. You know, na boa parada séria. Foi uma porrada muito forte. Sorry for calling you.
Oh wow, she did that too? This?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Oh. You bet it has hard to do this right now.
Oh, let me feel.
This is
Yeah, that's where she got you an umbrella.
Now, clearly, they didn't show her actually striking the car, but you hear it, you see her getting out, you see her walking away all aggressive like, you know, all bald-headed. And I don't know when that's from, but she's clearly got a shaved head. Maybe that's older. I don't know, and I just never saw it. But, yeah, this poor girl needs help. And it's very bizarre that you've got all these child actors. I guess it's really not that bizarre. If you put people in that situation, where they're the primary breadwinner at, 10 years old for the family. I mean, that's an awful lot of pressure to put on a child. And then you add in the Weinstein type, casting couch type stuff that we all hear about, rumors about, going on in Hollywood. And then you can clearly see that's why a lot of these people are the way they are. Now, I doubt very seriously anyone did that to Alan Ritchson or anything like that, because he's probably always been a pretty big dude, but you never know. You never know. I don't know how long he's been in it. I think he didn't become an actor until he was older. But anyway, these child stars, man, what's so funny is I used to be so jealous when I was real little, of these people, these child stars on Nickelodeon and Disney and stuff like that. And now that I know what's up, oh my God, you couldn't pay me enough money. They were throwing all the money at them, but it wasn't worth it because it ended up, eating their soul away. And you could see the husks that it left behind, like Shia LaBeouf and Britney Spears. And what was that one dude's name? Joaquin Phoenix from way back in the day. Was that his name? Something Phoenix. Maybe that wasn't his name. I don't remember. It's been so long. Maybe it wasn't Joaquin. That's where I'm getting confused. But yeah, Heath Ledger. On and on and on. The fat redheaded guy that, he OD'd on stuff. I can't remember his name. Philip Seymour or something like that. But yeah, there's just been a ton of them that it proves to me that money doesn't buy you happiness. Being celebrity status certainly does not buy you happiness. In fact, it's going to cause you a lot of inconvenience and frustration in your life. So that's all I got for you today, guys. I wanted to talk to you about this because I think it needs to be, we need to be aware of it. And we certainly don't want to envy people that are like this, because clearly they've got some kind of demons that they can't get past. Let me know what you guys think about all this down in the comments. I always love reading them. And until then, we'll see you next time.